Well, they blew up the chicken man in Philly last night, and they blew up his house too. Out on our boardwalk, they're getting ready for a fight.
Stop it.
See what? I got chicken business with you.
Yes, finally, we have been waiting all season for a classic Axe dollar bill mess around. And I know, this is a scene from episode 3, so we haven't been waiting that long, but it's long enough. And of course, we all love that classic line.
What's your level of certainty?
I am not uncertain.
So this episode was called Chickentown, right? It was all about that trade that they were making on chicken prices. So the whole idea of this trade was that there was one guy called the Chicken Man, right? And he would do the chicken count. So he was supposed to go around to all the different chicken farms and tally up how many chickens they have and then report it in his report. But instead, because he's a little lazy, he would just call all the farms and say, hey, how many chickens you got? And the farms would tell him that they always had less chickens than they actually had. Because that way, in his report, he'll put a shortage of chicken. And if there's a shortage of a product, what's going to happen? The price of that product is going to go up, right? So it's basically collusion between the chicken farms and the chicken man to keep chicken prices high. So Dollar Bill figured out that the chicken man was lazy. And he was just literally phoning it in, and he would bring in numbers that weren't accurate. So then somehow, they were going to buy futures and ride it up because they had the information about how this chicken man was actually reporting. But the problem is that trade doesn't really make sense. So that's what I was thinking after I watched that episode, and then I jumped on Reddit, and of course they were saying the same thing. So right here it says that trade actually doesn't make a lot of sense because as far as we know, this chicken man, he's not new. He's been the same guy who's been reporting these stats quarter after quarter. So if he was always reporting that the chicken was in short supply, then the price should have already reflected that. Like the market and everybody in the market would have already anticipated the correct price because the chicken man has been doing this, every quarter. So why would there be a lot of upside in sizing a large position based on that knowledge? All they really know is that the information is incorrect. Basically, what this is saying is that the price of chicken, if it's been the same chicken man this whole time, it's stayed constant every quarter. Like the report is always showing these types of numbers, it's already priced into the market. So buying chicken futures based off that information doesn't make sense, but possibly shorting chicken futures would make sense. I don't really know if chicken futures are a thing. I think it's called the chicken cash. It would make more sense if they use this inside information to create some sort of short play on the commodities market for chickens. And a short play is betting that prices go down. In the episode, they were betting the prices would go up because what they could have done is divulge the scandal. They could have ratted out the chicken man, and before they ratted him out, they would already be short the market, which means they were betting that the price would go lower. So they'd be in position, they would release the information that the chicken man hasn't been going to the farms and that the chicken stock that he's been reporting is artificially lower than it's supposed to be. So that news would break, everyone would realize that there's a lot more chicken than they thought there was, and prices would plummet. And then AxeCap would have had a position and they would have made a bunch of money, which is why I can't figure out how they would have made $300 million. That's what Axe said, right? By going long, which means betting that the price would go up. If they were betting the prices would go up, then the sneaky, shady thing that they should do is exactly what Bill tried to do at the end of the episode with the quarantine chicken, taking it to poison the rest of the chickens. Because at that point, if you kill the chicken supply, then yeah, if you have a long position, it's gonna shoot up. And that is serious meddling. It's not legal. Classic Dollar Bill though. If Axe and Dollar Bill were short on the position though, betting it would go down, then that chicken man dying would have been great for them because then they sent the suits in, right, to actually count the chickens, and they would have figured out that there's a lot more chickens than they thought there were. And again, prices collapse, Axe makes a bunch of money. That's why I don't really understand this trade. I don't know if it was a mistake in the show, but maybe you guys can decipher it better. Like comment down below if you get it. And this whole idea of the Chickentown, this whole episode was actually taken from a real story with real hedge funds that did something similar. And again, this is the Reddit community that shared this article. How Wall Street brought down Georgia's suspicious chicken price index. So this whole thing happened in 2016. So a bunch of hedge funds and investors thought that chicken companies had grown too fast, which means, they're raising too many chickens and that the nation was headed for a glut of chicken, just too much chicken, which we know should send prices down, right? So they all made bets that that price was going to fall. They thought the chicken companies' profits would disappear and that their stock price would also take a hit. So they were shorting those companies, their stock. And in this case, it's a little confusing. There's chicken stock and then there's a company company stock. In this case, they were shorting the company stock, not chicken itself. So they put a bunch of big money behind their bets and were shorting companies like Tyson, Pilgrim's Pride, Sanders Farms, all betting that they would fall. But then they got frustrated because the bet wasn't working. When they went to the grocery store, the price of chicken was either stable or even going up slightly. So they thought that didn't make sense. And the answer must have been that chicken companies were keeping prices artificially high, just like they were doing in this Billions episode. And the way that they were doing it was by taking advantage of the real life chicken man, Artie Schronese, or just Artie. So Artie was in charge of Georgia's poultry marketing news. So his job was to just call chicken companies operating in Georgia and then ask them for what prices they were selling their chicken. And then he would put the average price in a newsletter and send it out. So in reality, he didn't have to go around to the chicken farms like in Billions. He would just call. So he was doing the right thing. This wasn't a crooked chicken man. So this report was so important because Georgia is the biggest chicken producing state in the country. And Artie's prices that he published were used across the industry. Even the supermarkets and big chain restaurants would use what he published to set the price they paid for their chicken. So everything was based off this report by this guy Artie. And they put some more details about Artie in this piece. He's just a normal guy who likes gardening, but he had so much power over the chicken market. So eventually Wall Street noticed that Artie's numbers looked weird because other indices of chicken prices, because there's more than one, for example, the one published by the US Department of Agriculture, they had fallen sharply. So in these other reports, prices of chicken had fallen a lot because they were reporting the right number of chickens that there were, which were too many. But Artie's numbers never fell. They were 30 to even 50% higher than the other chicken indices. So the Wall Street guys got a lawyer to start investigating. And eventually they found a memo that Artie wrote to himself. And in that memo, he said he didn't even believe his own index anymore. He would call these chicken companies for new numbers and they would just say to him, keep them the same. And I mean, Artie couldn't do anything. He wasn't going around to the farm, so he would just take their number because that's how it worked. And like I said, this one guy had all this power because there's millions of dollars depending on those numbers. But nobody even asked for invoices or anything to verify that the chicken sales actually happened at the quoted prices. The companies could just be making the numbers up to keep the prices high because all of this was just based off a phone call. So Artie wrote that he came to question the validity of some of the information he provided. He even said that the state of Georgia should not be running this index. The department should shut it down or at least transfer him off of it because it's not right. Artie was a noble chicken man. Well, I mean, Artie is a noble chicken man. He didn't go the same way as the Billions chicken man, thank God. So as soon as the lawyer got that memo, they passed it on to the Washington Post, which is exactly what we're saying Axe could have done. So once it was published, it destroyed the reputation of that price index. They just stopped publishing it and people stopped believing it. And it was all because Wall Street pushed it through. But unfortunately in this case, chicken prices did not even fall. It didn't do anything. So there's two theories about why this happened. So one theory is that big supermarkets weren't even looking at that price index anyway, or they stopped looking at it when the numbers didn't seem right and they just negotiated their own prices. So if that happened, then any of the tampering that the chicken farms were doing didn't really have an effect. Prices would have stayed at that level anyway. But other people, including some big chicken buyers, think that there was price fixing and that the chicken prices didn't fall because the companies that dominate the chicken business found other ways to prop up those same prices. So yeah, they lost their chicken man, but that's okay because this is some deep state business and they figured out how to keep the chicken prices high anyway. So now there's a big lawsuit in place between a bunch of the big chicken buyers like supermarkets and restaurants that they've filed against the big chicken producers. So that's still in court. They're figuring it out. And in this case too, if Axe and Dollar Bill took this route, just like these guys did, and if it worked, I mean, I don't think that is insider trading because it's just like a short seller of any company, right? If they investigate the company and they realize something is wrong, of course they publish their results. And when they publish their results, they should see the stock price fall because they revealed something wrong. So if they do this investigation, find something wrong, publish it, and profit off of it, that's not insider trading. Everyone's okay with that because that's one of the functions of the market with short sellers. They're supposed to investigate, find bad companies, and bring it to light, and they get paid off of that. But what you're not allowed to do is investigate a company, find out nothing is wrong, and then publish false stuff. That's manipulation. And if you're caught with that, well then you're in big trouble again. So literally in this case, Axe and Dollar Bill could have done this completely legally. But hey, again, maybe I'm not understanding this thing properly. If I'm reading this whole situation wrong, then let me know in the comments, because it's not making sense to me right now. Still a great episode though, you know, I enjoyed it. Dollar Bill singing, that's a treat. But okay, comment down below with what you think, and also if you want me to cover anything else, put it down there and I'll do my best. And if you want more Billions videos like this, breaking things down, then subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you get an email notification when the next video is released. I'm trying to do one every other day. Will I run out of material? Maybe. I guess we're gonna see. So subscribe and see what happens. I'll see you in the next video. Stay fallible out there. Bye.